Hello there. Today, simple is the name of the game. I want to show you how to make 4 different coffee drinks and treats that only utilize 2 ingredients, one of them being coffee and the other being a mysterious other thing that I will share with you shortly. If you followed my work here for a while or on any of my other channels, you know that I make a lot of, albeit pretty complex, coffee signature drinks. So the goal today is to make easy, fun, yet still delicious drinks that you can do at home. So let's begin. I also want to give a huge thank you to Aerocano for sponsoring today's video for all of the espresso we're going to be making. We're going to be using their Mino portable espresso maker and also their Fino grinder. So if any of these drinks tickle your fancy and you want to take them on the go, which I highly recommend you do, the Fino and the Mino are a great way to do it. I'll talk about them more later, but for now, let's get started on our first drink. We are going to begin with the Shakerato. This is one of my favorite cold coffee drinks to make. It is fun, it feels kind of fancy, and it's also Italian in origin. So if you're ever in Italy, make sure you try one of these, but I'm going to show you how you can make it at home. Our non-coffee ingredient today is going to be a little bit of sugar. This is 5 grams or about a teaspoon of demerara sugar. However, you can really use any sugar you want. Turbinado, cane sugar, even brown sugar. You can also use a little bit of simple syrup in place of this if you prefer. You will also, of course, need some espresso, so hence you will need coffee. For this drink, you will also want to have a cocktail shaker. Now for the Shakerato, you can really use any coffee that you want. However, if I can give you a little bit of a recommendation to get you started down the right road, I like to use coffees that are more medium in roast level, so a little darker than I usually drink for filter. And then also I usually like to use coffees that are a little bit more chocolate forward in flavor. Again, you can do this a lot of different ways. You can use a light fruity coffee if you want, but I think a good base point for this drink is something chocolatey, nutty, round, and very rich in flavor. Oh, don't lose any beans. All right, now while this grinds, I'm gonna go get some ice. Let's pop that into our portafilter. Gentle tap, just to level everything, then we tamp. Okay, let's extract. Now the Mino can preheat your water for you if you are using room temperature water, but you can always use preheated water if you want to start your extraction immediately. All right, off to the races. Okay, let's build our drink. Into the bottom of our shaker, I'm gonna add our sugar. We'll also add our espresso. Now, there are 2 ways to do this next step. If you want to maintain only using your shaker at this point, you can fill this side with ice and then shake. However, what I want to do here is actually going to be an initial froth to give this a lot of nice aeration, which will lead to that very almost espresso martini-like texture. To do that, I'm going to use a handheld milk frother. And this right here is the Latte Go. So give that a swirl, just start to get your sugar melting, and then place that handheld milk frother right inside. If you want, you can use this little silicone ring to kind of stabilize the head of the frother. Now, we're just gonna turn it on and let that mixture spin and mix for about 10 to 15 seconds, or until you see a nice foamy head form on the surface of that espresso. Okay, now let's shake with ice. I recommend shaking with a lot of ice. This is not only to chill it, but also to dilute the drink. 10 to 15 seconds, or until your tins are fully frosted. Now I'm simply gonna strain into my cup of choice. I am so excited to drink this. If you want to, you can double strain this to remove any tiny ice shards that you might have on the top, but personally, I kind of like them. Cheers. It is a simple drink. It is a shaken, aerated, lightly sweet espresso, but somehow this is one of those beverages that is truly greater than the sum of its parts. It's so refreshing, very, very lovely texture, and I'm probably gonna finish this when I'm done filming. Okay, we have more beverages to make. Now, before we hop into our next beverage, I want to talk a little bit more about the sponsor of today's video. Aerocano, as I mentioned before, is a brand that I really, really like for portable espresso makers and travel gear. Their Mino espresso maker and travel kit is fantastic. The Fino grinder is a great pairing with it. And also, if you are someone who makes milk drinks, specialty drinks, the Latte Go is a really, really solid hand frother. Outen is celebrating their 4th anniversary this month, starting on August 15th. And if you want to learn or explore anything that I am showing you here today, whether it is the mat, the travel kit, the scales, the frother, the grinder, any of that, you can learn more and shop at the link in the description, or you can visit outen.com/MDC. Happy birthday, Outen, and thank you for sponsoring today's video. Our second drink today is going to be another summer specialty, which is perfect for this season. We are going to be making an espresso tonic. So once more, you will need coffee/espresso, and also we are going to need some tonic water. About 6 to 7 ounces is preferable. Now, unlike the Shakerato, which I think really shines when you use a little bit darker, more traditional profile of coffee, for an espresso tonic, I really recommend using something that is light and floral or fruity to really complement the kind of sweet and bitter flavor of tonic water. Tonic water has quinine in it, which used to be used for medicinal purposes. So it has also sugar. It has like a really interesting flavor to it. However, when you use a little bit more rich, a little bit more traditional flavor profiles of espresso, you can sometimes have the unfortunate effect of getting something that tastes a little bit muddled and just not cohesive in flavor. This is a drink that really shines in texture, in flavor with something a bit fruitier. So don't say I didn't warn you. All right, while that extracts, let's put some ice in our glass. All right, perfect. Order of operations for an espresso tonic is important, just so we make sure we don't overly agitate the carbonation in our tonic water and create a bubble over, as I like to affectionately call it. So we're gonna start with a heavy amount of ice, then we're gonna pour our tonic water in. Anywhere between 5 to 7 ounces usually is my personal ratio preference. Pour slowly, make sure you leave about an inch or at least enough room for your espresso on top. Now gently pouring over the back of the spoon, I'm gonna layer that espresso into our beverage. Just pouring nice and slowly, making sure not to agitate anything too much, and you should have a nice, easy layering effect. All right, how's that? Once everything has settled a little bit, you can give it a gentle stir with a straw, and then it's yours to enjoy. Oh, it just got so dark. Cheers. Delicious. I could drink these all summer. They are classic, they are easy to make, and oh so tasty. Let's move on to our third drink. Our third drink, and second to the last, is going to be actually probably my favorite of this entire video. And it is, I think, truly ingredients-wise, the simplest of everything. We are going to be making an Aerocano, which is an aerated version of an Americano that I think is vastly superior. I'm not a huge fan of Americanos myself, but this version with its texture is just absolutely lovely to drink. It's super easy. Like with an Americano, we are only going to need coffee and also some water and ice. So technically one ingredient if you want to think about water just as 2 forms. I don't really have a really strong recommendation for coffee profile on this drink. I think you can go really any direction you like, just however you like your Americanos, use that coffee. All right, while this extracts, let me go get our ice. This is hilarious. Guess who didn't add water? Okay, I'll be right back. All right, now we are not going to be using a steam wand for our Aerocano, which is traditionally how you would make it. You would add your espresso, your water, and your ice into a pitcher, and then you would steam it, inserting air and heat into that drink until that ice is mostly melted. However, to do that today, we're actually going to utilize the water heating function on the Mino. We have our espresso. I'm going to toss that into our pitcher. I'm going to dump out the spent puck that is currently in the brewer. All right, now that that's all clean, I'm adding about 2 ounces of room temperature water. We're just gonna let this preheat and then extract into our cup. So essentially we are just using the Mino as a water heater right now. Essentially what I'm doing here is splitting the function that a steam wand performs into 2 different steps. So we're about to add ice, and by using hot water instead of cold water, we are gonna be using that to melt down that ice rather than the heat added from a steam wand. Additionally, to add air and to froth this drink like a steam wand would, we're just gonna use our handy dandy Latte Go milk frother. So heat plus aeration, a steam wand does both, we're just separating the 2. Okay, we now have some hot water. Just gonna pour that hot water right into our espresso and then add about 100 grams of ice. For me, those are about 4 to 5 of these about 1-inch ice cubes. We're gonna take our handheld milk frother, insert it into the mixture, and then turn it on. Now I'm gonna froth and mix until the side of my pitcher is slightly cool, maybe even a little bit frosted. That means that most of this ice has melted and chilled the drink, and also you'll hear it. As that ice becomes smaller, it will feel and sound noticeably different. After about 15 seconds, maybe close to 20, depending on how big your ice cubes are, that ice should be almost completely melted. And that means you're done. I like to leave a little bit of ice in my drink to continue chilling it as I'm drinking it, but if you want to keep mixing until it's fully melted, you can also do that. Now we pour into our cup. And you'll notice we have this absolutely delicious aerated foam that sits on top. This is still just a pretty classic chilled Americano, but texturally it feels a lot more like nitro cold brew. As a texture person myself, this is the way I like to enjoy Americanos. Okay, I'm gonna try not to finish this. We have one more thing to make. Some of you more eagle-eyed or maybe eagle-eared viewers earlier may have noticed that I said coffee drinks and treats, because the last thing we are making today, as may be obvious from what's in front of me, is going to be an affogato. For this, you are of course gonna need espresso and coffee, and also an ice cream or gelato of your choice. I personally think vanilla is the most classic. It is hard to go wrong here, so we'll be using this today. Now, affogatos are delicious. They are super simple. We are simply going to be extracting our espresso over our ice cream. Affogato very appropriately means drowned in Italian, and that's what is going to be happening here. Now, I like to use about 2, maybe 2.5 small scoops of ice cream, but this is a measure with your heart sort of process. And also, if you are a bit caffeine sensitive like I still am, make these with decaf coffee. You can have affogatos any time of the day. That feels like a good amount for our double shot. So we'll simply place that under our brewer. Let's extract. And that right there is a pretty delicious looking affogato, but we must taste test. It is hard to overstate how delicious this is. I said I'd finish my other drinks today, but frankly, I think I might just finish the affogato and call it a day. Regardless though, I hope some of these simple coffee drinks and treats are things that you end up making at home. All of these are so fun, they're so delicious, and I think they are nice, elevated ways of taking your coffee to the next level if you are looking to switch up your routine, or maybe are starting to dive into little signature drinks yourself. Again, a huge thank you to Outen for sponsoring today's video. If you want to learn more about any of the products I utilized today, I will have them linked in the description below at outen.com/MDC. I'm gonna go finish the rest of this. I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.